Thursday afternoon in downtown Charlottesville. A lot we're going to cover on today's program: real estate, business, local government, the University of Virginia, and politics. This crossroads of this Venn diagram of those storylines, kind of the premise of today's program. We have a homeless shelter on Holiday Drive that was purchased from a citizen. The old Lakeland Tours building, fantastic brick building, almost Georgian in style, perhaps is Georgian in style. My architectural je ne sais quoi is not what it should be. It's a massive building that you can see from the bypass. The city purchased this in the end of calendar year 2025. We find out earlier this week in a city council meeting, it was kind of like this nondescript comment on the record by one of the councilors that the city is well over a year, if not longer, from materializing anything of merit at the homeless shelter on Holiday Drive, the old Lakeland Tours building, right next to the Aberdeen Barn and those 3 hotels. You're looking at probably 2+ years before this $6 million acquisition turns into something of merit. And in that 2+ year period of time, the city is becoming more impacted by houselessness and homelessness. I want to unpack this in so many ways. I want to unpack it from the slow-moving, quicksand nature of local government. I want to unpack it in that the city, with this $6 million purchase, is spending our money. They're spending taxpayer dollars. That is our money, ladies and gentlemen. We have a right to demand better because it's our tax dollars that are being spent. I want to unpack it from this angle. How about the fact that the city now owning this takes the building off of tax rolls, which puts more of the burden of the city on us, because this building is not paying its fair share of property taxes because the city owns it now. A lot I want to discuss on the program, and I want to compare it and contrast it to, say, the University of Virginia that has now announced a development partner in Capstone Development, and they are working in conjunction to build a 780-bed residence hall, 310,000 square feet at the corner of Copley and Ivy Roads, plus an additional 19,000 square feet of retail and dining space. So here you have Capstone Development Partners in conjunction with the University of Virginia, a project financed by the University of Virginia that's saying we're going to build a much larger space from scratch, literally the first shovel in the ground, where the Lakeland Tours building, the homeless shelter on Holiday Drive, it's already a structure. It already exists. And the University of Virginia makes the announcement this week. We break that news on the I Love CVille Network yesterday. We're going to make it even more significant today. It's going to drive it home in the news cycle. Legacy Media is watching us right now, so they will report it once the show is over. I want to compare and contrast the fact that you have a University of Virginia and a developer in Capstone Development that is bringing a 780-bed residence hall to market in 2 years, and they're building this project, actually less than 2 years. Jesus, we're talking a year and a half. We're talking a year and a half. UVA is doing this. It's going to start prior to the fall 2027 semester. And UVA is doing this from scratch. And the city of Charlottesville can't take an existing structure on Holiday Drive and position it into, or convert it, or remodel, or develop it, whatever you want to call it, into a homeless shelter when this structure already exists and the demand is off the charts. I want to talk about that on today's program. And obviously the University of Virginia has to move aggressively here because we touched on this yesterday. The class of 2030, 82,000 students applied to be a part of the UVA class of 2030. That's a 27% increase in application demand versus the class of 2029. And the class of 2029 was already an all-time high. Think about the world we live in, where the University of Virginia is so premier and prestigious, so coveted, the demand so astronomically through the roof, that this past year, applications for the class of 2029 set a record, a UVA record, the most interest. Then the immediately following year, the class of 2030, that record was sliced and diced by 27% plus. The University of Virginia, the class of 2030, going to be the largest class in UVA history. You know, that impacts the city in Albemarle County and in Central Virginia in ways that we all know. We'll talk about that on the program today. We will talk a topic I didn't get to yesterday because I had to do a shorter show because of an important 1:30 meeting across town. We have the full hour today. I want to unpack the Water Street storyline, Livable Charlottesville, the activist group that pushes a number of angles, that's me saying it lightly, is flexing its muscle to make Water Street, the road parallel to the downtown mall, one way. And activist CVille is saying, we need to make, activist Livable CVille is saying, we need to make Water Street one way because we got to protect the bikers. We got to protect the people on two wheels. The downtown business owners are saying, hey man, it's important that bicyclists and walkers and runners alike have an ability to get downtown, and we want them to all be safe. But let's be honest and let's be straightforward. People are driving downtown. And if you make Water Street one way, it's going to make it just more difficult to get downtown because one of the primary arteries or gateways to downtown will be convoluted by one direction of traffic. I want to talk about that topic on the show and ask a question, why is this not getting more attention? The other topics we want to cover on the show today, ladies and gentlemen, is the fourth quarter report from 2025 that's now been released by the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors. That topic on the show. Judah's got a couple of items that he wants to get out of his notebook that did not get to the rundown, perhaps. We'll cover that on the program. I'd like to give some attention to John and Andrew Vermillion of Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. The Vermillions have been in business for 62 years at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. They're online at charlottesvillesanitarysupply.com. And ladies and gentlemen, buy your pool cleaning, your sanitary needs, your salt for the ice and the snow, your vacuums, do your vacuum repairing, your pool robots, your pool covers at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. They offer free delivery in the market, and that delivery happens usually the same day. So it offers price points and delivery and accessibility that the big box stores cannot compete with, and you're supporting a business that's local to Charlottesville, that's been here for 62 years, backed by a family that's lived in Albemarle County for 5 generations, and a business that's been run by 3 generations. And they have a sister company called Charlottesville Swimming Pool Company that is the concierge or the consultant of anything swimming pool related, whether that's new swimming pool construction, improving swimming pools, cleaning swimming pools, you name it, Charlottesville Swimming Pool Company's got you covered. Judah Woodcarry, I want to get a sanitary, I'd love to get a studio camera and then a 2-shot with you, as we have a lot to unpack on the program. And we ask you, the viewer and listener, to like the show. If you're watching the show, hammer the like button, please. Hammer the like button, please, if you're watching the show. Share the show. Help us spread the gospel that is the I Love CVille Show. Vanessa Parkhill and Bill McChesney have done that. We are also, I kind of wet your whistle on this yesterday, we are also brainstorming a new show and a new brand for our media company that has more of a macro lens on the country, that will talk the intersection of news and politics and current events and hot topics. And should we choose to launch this brand, and my inclination is yes for that, it will have no impact, ladies and gentlemen, on the momentum we're having and enjoying with the I Love CVille Network and the I Love CVille Show. First, items that are not in the notebook or on the rundown that you want to get to, or if any, or if you want to go to the rundown. Judah Woodcarry, show is yours.
I think we can move to the rundown. I think it's insane the time scale that they're talking about for the homeless shelter. I mean, we know that they are aware of, that this needs to get done. I mean, this is an initiative from Charlottesville, and like you pointed out, we've got construction going on all over the place, and the fact that this is looking like it's 2 years out with a pre-built structure. I mean, I would love to know why you couldn't just put some beds in there and start getting people out of the cold as soon as possible.
Here are the points I want to make before I offer my commentary, and the points I'm going to make are just facts. Mm-hmm. There's a building that used to be the old Lakeland Tours building. It was purchased by the city of Charlottesville for $6 million. Mm-hmm. Friend of the program and client of the program, Hunter Craig, active with this negotiation and helping broker the deal. The man does a lot of stuff behind the scenes that's incredibly positive for Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia. Had a great conversation with him yesterday. He's an asset to the community, period. $6 million for a building, for a homeless shelter that was desperately needed. The homeless population in Charlottesville and Albemarle County, for one reason or another, is escalating and growing. Mm-hmm. I think it's obvious to me why the houseless and homeless population is escalating and growing in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. It's because we roll out the red carpet for the homeless, and that word has gotten out. There's soup kitchens, there's shelters, there's relaxed laws, there's panhandling opportunity. In a lot of ways, the houseless is being prioritized, certainly in downtown Charlottesville, over the success and the upside of small business. Drives me crazy. People use what I just said against me and say this guy is trying to kick a man or kick a woman when he's down. No, I'm not. All I'm trying to do is, there's a difference between a hand out and a hand up. I want to give people a hand up. I don't want to give people a handout. Mm-hmm. I saw this $6 million purchase off the bypass, the Lakeland Tours building. It's a brick Georgian building. It's a commercial structure, ready to go. It's brick. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. I saw this as a genius move. It's right on the Rivanna Trail. It's close to the downtown mall, but not close enough. It's on public transportation. I'm like Sam Sanders. This could be one of those anchors in his city manager term or tenure that he could kind of point to and say, look, I helped clean up Charlottesville. I helped take our crown jewel, the 8 blocks of the downtown mall that's in the midst of its 50-year anniversary celebration. Why there's been no announcement about the 50-year anniversary celebration, no pomp and circumstance, no data points on how we can enjoy that celebration or that anniversary, which is a milestone. That's a different topic. There should be already.
Not to mention the fact if we're going to make it a vacation, to do for people, you can't just announce it the week before. If we want people to come from out of Charlottesville, spend their money here, they're going to need time to plan a vacation.
To plan a vacation. That hasn't happened. Why hasn't that happened? That's a different topic. We're not going to get ADD here. Let's stick with the homeless shelter. They spent $6 million on this. Mm-hmm. They took a piece of property that was for sale and on the market, and they took our money, taxpayer dollars, and they said, we're going to give $6 million to this private citizen, and we're going to make this a homeless shelter. Would we have all been in agreement that we spend $6 million on a homeless shelter if we had known it would be years before that shelter actually materialized into something of merit?
Good question.
Would we have been up in arms had we have known that it would have been 24, 26, 28 months or longer before the homeless shelter became a reality, knowing that that also takes a piece of property off the tax rolls, which puts more of the tax burden on everyday Joes and everyday Jennifers? Remember, if the city owns it, it's off the tax rolls. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to compare and contrast it, and you should be rotating lower thirds on screen here. There's multiple lower thirds that are tied to this. The Capstone UVA one, the homeless shelter, multiple lower thirds that you can put on screen here. I want to compare and contrast it, viewers and listeners, to what the University of Virginia is doing on Holiday Drive. On the corner of Copley and Ivy Roads. The University of Virginia, we broke this news We highlighted it on the I Love CVille Network yesterday. It has not been reported in print, radio, or television. Nowhere has it been reported besides the I Love CVille Network. We routinely are breaking news on a daily basis that then turns up in legacy media. Capstone Development is the development arm, or it's the organization, the company the University of Virginia has selected for a 780-bed residence on the grounds of the University of Virginia. This project will include 3 buildings, 3 new buildings. I think you got a photo that you could potentially put on screen.
I can try to
If
get that.
if it does a lot with that computer, don't do it. If it's not already go, I don't want to freeze things up. I'll try to set the stage for it for the viewers and listeners. 3 buildings, 310,000 square feet, the corner of Copley and Ivy Roads. The project will offer apartment-style units for upperclassmen alongside a 19,000 square foot dining and retail component. Capstone will serve as a fee developer responsible for the design and construction of the project, which is being financed by the University of Virginia and is scheduled for completion prior to the fall of 2027, before school starts. The development team also includes Elkis Manfredi Architects, Hoare Construction, and Auergen. I'm going to ask this question, and I know what people are going to say. It's not an apples to apples comparison. Comparing the University of Virginia and its resources and its dry powder and its connections to the city of Charlottesville that does not have nearly the dry powder or resources and connections is not an apples to apples comparison. I get it. But I want to highlight on the show that the University of Virginia can take a piece of dirt, okay? A piece of dirt, and convert it into 310,000 square feet across 3 buildings and 780 beds, plus 19,000 square feet of dining and retail, and they can do it in about a year and change. 1 year and change, the University of Virginia can do it. And the city of Charlottesville cannot even take an existing structure on Holiday Drive that is already a building and make it into something in less than 24 months. What UVA and Capstone are doing is basically creating a shelter. This shelter just happens to be for college students that have their mom and dad's black Amex and their mom and dad's AMG or G-Wagons. But what they're creating is a shelter. It's 780 beds. The city needs to do the same thing, create a shelter. But the city has much smaller responsibility, 27,000 square feet versus 300,000 plus, and already a building on site. Michael Guthrie on the I Love CVille Network this morning says this will be located in the opposite corner diagonally from the Wells Fargo building on that Ivy and Copley intersection. Michael Guthrie's a connected individual. We have viewers and listeners on the I Love CVille Network. What's that?
Here's the photo.
We got a photo on screen?
The one that's in the
Look at the
article.
Look at the photo on screen. Judah's got a photo on screen. Good work. Look at the photo on screen. We got some folks that are calling this hideous and that Jefferson would not approve. We got Whit Brown saying that UVA is not keeping the Jeffersonian neoclassical architectural style in many of its new buildings. Vanessa agrees on the I Love CVille Network, Vanessa Parkhill, with Whit Brown. The buildings on Ivy Road don't fit the usual style. Bill Chapman, owner of the CVille Weekly on the I Love CVille Network, he leaves this comment, Bill Chapman. He also owns the Oakhurst Inn. I think he owns the Mod Pod Hotel as well on 14th Street. I know he owns the Oakhurst. Bill Chapman says students and faculty also are not wearing tri-corner hats, which were popular neoclassical items as well. So he pushes back on the fact that folks are hating on some of these designs on Ivy Road no longer being neoclassical and Jeffersonian. And Bill Chapman's comment basically means, guys, it's a different world we're living in. They're not wearing tri-corner hats It's not just an all-guys school where men go to class in 100-degree weather and button-down shirts and khaki pants and sports coats and ties. My dad, a 1972 graduate of the University of Virginia, he arrived in 1968. He said in 1968, when he arrived at the University of Virginia as a first year, it was all male, and they had to wear sports coats, button-down dress shirts, ties, pants, and dress shoes to class, even if it was 100+ degrees. By the time he had graduated in 1972, women had been admitted, and it was a completely different period of time. This loving, hippie, relaxed movement had dawned on the University of Virginia, and upon graduation, they were going to class in tank tops, torn shorts and jeans, and Birkenstocks, as opposed to the button-down shirt, tie, sports coat, and slacks and penny loafers. Times changed quickly in those 4 years. Another microcosm, I'm going to welcome your comments on the program here. The city of Charlottesville is being, and I'm going to be straightforward on this, significantly impacted by a homeless population. A population that needs help. But it's significantly impacting the business community in Charlottesville. And Charlottesville government says we need more than 24 months to materialize an effort where we use $6 million of your money to purchase a building, and we need more than 2 years to make that building something, despite the fact knowing that we desperately need this right now, where the University of Virginia, in a year and a half, can build a 780-bed shelter and 300,000 plus square feet from scratch. It's not an apples-to-apples comparison. It's certainly fodder for a talk show. It's certainly fodder for your cocktail and charcuterie party this weekend. And it certainly puts in perspective the quicksand nature of local government. Judah, jump in. Viewers and listeners, put your comments in the feed, and I will relay them live on air.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear more again about why this is going to take so long, why we can't, why you can't put beds in part of it and start using it. I would think that there would be a rush to at least get it to a state where it can be used, even if it's not. Even if it's not ideal, I get that there are probably issues with, making sure everything is secure, making sure that if there's work being done, people aren't moving into those areas of the building. But this is something that we all know the homeless population needs. Patcham does a great job, but they're limited in how many people they can help. There's the high barrier shelter, which we all know does a great job, but they're limited in how many people they can help. And I mean, I would have thought you'd find a way. Find a way to get this place opened up and make it, what do they say? You can always make it perfect later. No,
they say perfect is the enemy of productivity and progress.
There's that too.
Yeah.
But I've also seen something along the lines of just get it started, worry about perfect later.
Comments are coming in aggressively. I want someone in City Hall to go to Mary at Tools Jewelers. Mary at Tools Jewelers.
And tell
who has to sign a back-of-the-napkin contract with two homeless men. Hedge her risk. These guys sleep in her vestibule on a building that she owns in front of a business her family has run for generations. Mm-hmm. And the back of the napkin contract says, you cannot pee, poop, or puke, literally in the contract, in this vestibule. And if you do not pee, puke, or poop in this vestibule in front of Tools Jewelers on the downtown mall, I will allow you to stay here as long as that you leave before 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m. There's a timestamp on it. before she opens her doors. And I said to her, why do you allow that? And she says to me, she's a businesswoman. She's a kind person. She's a great person. She's such an asset to downtown Charlottesville. Tools is a phenomenal business. Take my watches there. Tools is phenomenal business. She says, they're going to stay here no matter what I do. I'm not here at night. Mm-hmm. I'm not here at 1 or 2 in the morning or midnight or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
So why don't I do a back of the napkin contract here where they can't pee, poop, or puke, and they have to leave by a certain time, and it hedges my risk and my exposure. This is a kind woman that is brokering sleeping arrangements in a building that she owns, that is home to a business that her family has run for generations because she has no other choice. And the city is saying to Mary and like-minded storekeepers, it's going to be 2 years plus before we take the sales tax and the meals tax and the lodging tax and your property taxes that you've given us to purchase this building, to then take it off the tax rolls, which puts more of a tax burden on you, the resident. And we're going to wait 24 plus months before we even do anything to solve the problem.
And then there's no guarantee that anyone will use it.
This comment comes in from the fixer. The fixer says this: the city still does not have anyone to run the thing. They do not know how this will be run or what organization will run or manage the shelter. Highlights another point of concern. Deep Throat watching the program. Number 1 in the family. Let's get to Deep Throat. Viewers and listeners, put your comments in the feed and I'll relay it live on air. I agree with you that the speed with which UVA is moving, the speed of which Greystar is moving on their old Ivy project, it puts the city to shame. Deep Throat also says, building new student housing can provide, building new student housing can help with rental prices in town, provided UVA doesn't turn around and increase enrollment. I know they say their plans are not to increase enrollment sharply in the near future, but looking at the tidal wave of applicants, you have to think there's going to be pressure on the university. There are a lot of Virginia parents who want to send their kids here, and they talk to their delegates to increase enrollment. 100% they're going to increase enrollment.
Part of the reason we're seeing so many enrollments is because they're no longer asking for SAT or ACT scores. ACT scores. That's
100% true. Carlos Albanas Franco posted that. UVA did not require a supplemental essay and are still test optional. No SAT or ACT scores required to apply, which opened the floodgates for applicants. Barbara Becker-Tilley, they required no ACT or SAT scores. The SAT score is one of the reasons I got in early at the University of Virginia. I think mine was on a scale. For me, at the time, there was reading and it was English and math, 800 apiece, 1,600 the max score. Mine was 1480 at the time. GPA was good. The extracurriculars were fantastic. The 1480 was something that I could wave around and earn early admission. The no SAT, the no ACT shocks me. Our sons will certainly be taking that test. I hope it's a scenario where there's no SAT and ACT when they apply, because they'll take it and they'll do well with it because they're going to practice and they're going to put in the effort to do well for it. Practice makes perfect. Comments continue to come in aggressively here on the water cooler of content and conversation. With John McGuire, we're trading text messages. This will put me in a world of hot water in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. Liberal and left-leaning Charlottesville and Albemarle County, trading text messages now with the communications director of John McGuire, the congressman. They reached out to us. We had some fun with John McGuire because he was wearing, I was corrected by John McGuire, cowboy boots and not loafers. I stand corrected, Congressman. You were wearing a Brooks Brothers suit that appeared slightly tight in the waist, and you had a shovel and a business suit on and cowboy boots while helping teenagers out of the snow. It appeared to be a photo op. I was reached out. They got my phone number. They texted me. They wanted to make some corrections that it was cowboy boots and not loafers, as I depicted on the I Love CVille Network. And they asked if they could come on the I Love CVille Show. And we're currently trading text messages about setting up an interview. Let's see how Charlottesville and Albemarle County responds to that. Very left-leaning and liberal Charlottesville and Albemarle County. If you have a chance to interview a congressman, regardless if the ideology is something that is welcomed by the populace, you take that opportunity to have a conversation with a U.S. congressman. It's a talk show. This is not a talk show that only caters to people that live in a silo. It's a talk show. Comments, put them in the feed. We will relay them live on air on the water cooler of content and conversation. I'm going to get to the comments that are on my page. There's 100 plus of these out here. I just wanted to take the start of the program to ask Charlottesville why it's going to take them 24 months to solve a problem that's been inflicting the community since the pandemic.
And I think another problem I have, whatever the explanation or excuse is for the long lead time on getting this shelter bed ready, is that we know they're not going to do anything until the shelter. They've said as much, that they're not going to do anything until the shelter is ready. They had an idea last year that could have helped the downtown mall, and they rejected it and essentially said, we're not going to do anything until we have a shelter in place.
They're intentionally sabotaging Charlottesville. They had an opportunity. City Council asked Chief Mike Kochis, the police chief, to present a plan where you could manage the houseless population by disallowing public camping and public storing of possessions.
Yeah.
City Council asked Kochis to present this plan to City Council in a meeting that then was leaked to the media that drove hundreds of activists to City Hall and to council chambers in the dais. And then when Kochis presented the plan to council...
It wasn't just presented. They asked him and others, including the city attorney, to draft the law.
Yeah. And then when it was presented by Kochis, the city attorney, and other staff... Council was quiet as 200 people in council chambers lambasted them with insults and peppered them with nastiness.
And Jerry is not talking about lambasting the council members. He's talking about specifically Greer Ackenbach
and the police chief.
And they sat there and did nothing. And
then a businessman locally who behind the scenes is incredibly influential and connected. He has tremendous skin in the game locally as a co-founder of a bank, Virginia National Bank, owns a boatload of real estate all over town, has businesses all over town, Hunter Craig, helps broker a deal with a piece of commercial real estate that had been sitting on the market for sale for an extremely long period of time. Behind the scenes, puts the deal together, $6 million, our money, taxpayer dollars, takes the property off the tax rolls so taxes cannot be collected on this property because it's now owned by the city, putting more of the burden on us. And now on Monday in council chambers, very indirectly flies under the radar, not covered by any other media outlet out there. It's going to be years before we even do anything with this building.
Yeah.
It's effing infuriating.
Yeah.
It's infuriating. Barbara Becker-Tilley highlights the pride of that she noticed with me with the 1480 test score with the SAT. And she says, I remember the work it took to earn those scores. It weeded out the curds from the buttermilk. And she's 100% right. My brother and I were taking the PSAT or the SAT from the 7th grade on. 7th grade,
Good
8th
Lord.
grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. My parents paid for us to take it. Initially, we qualified to take it in 7th and 8th grade, and then they paid for us to take it throughout high school, and were involved in those SAT prep classes in
That's
the
great.
evenings, and had the SAT textbook that we also studied. My
man.
parents did not come from money. It was not, we weren't rolling in the money. Very middle class. And she's right. It was effort that earned the scores. My brother's even higher. Even higher. Albert Graves, basically his photo on screen. Basically the lipstick is being put on a pig as far as the city and that homeless shelter. Vanessa Parkhill, 2 years until the building for the homeless is ready, what kind of Taj Mahal are they planning to create? People have been freezing outside at near record low temperatures. I'm sure there are many who would have been okay to just be inside somewhere. Judas Point.
That's what I said, yeah.
It's a 27,000 square foot brick commercial building.
Open the doors. You're not doing anything with it for 2 years. Let them mess it up.
Yeah.
You've got all the time in the world to clean it up
There it is.
afterwards.
Judas Point. Great point.
Open the doors, turn the heat on. I mean, hell, you paid $6 million. Why not keep paying for the heat and let people lie there?
The whole homeless encampment by the Rivanna River.
How much could it? Yeah, how much could it cost to buy 100 cots?
Yeah. This is asinine what's happening here. Go to the folks that are sleeping on the downtown mall and by the Rivanna River that they're having to spend taxpayer dollars to send the police department once a quarter to the Rivanna River to clean up the homeless encampment and basically enforce that you can't camp here.
Well, they can't do that anymore.
I think, didn't they do this the last time, or was it right before?
That was before.
That was before, you're right.
And there was.
So that's why the homeless encampment is so significant by the Rivanna, because when Chief Kochis went before council and was ridiculed by the activists in the council chambers, he then said, okay, then we're not going to enforce any kind of public camping. He didn't do it out of spite.
Yeah.
It wasn't out of spite.
That makes it sound like he's
It was
like,
not out of spite.
Yeah, Sam Sanders is his boss, and Sam Sanders says we are not creating a framework for you to respond to calls about the houseless, and Police Chief Kochis rightly said, well, then we have no framework with which to deal with the houseless. So when you have a problem, you can't call us again. You can't keep doing this to us without some way for us to, by law, deal with them.
And
we're not
that's
talking
why-
about kicking them out of the city. We're talking about a law that allows the police to deal with the houseless when there is a requirement to do so.
Yeah, and that's why the encampment on the Rivanna River is so significant and robust. A production note for your post-production notebook. LinkedIn stream looks like it stopped early. We don't have to get it back up now. I'm just putting it on your radar for tomorrow's two shows, Real Talk at 10:15 a.m. and the final I Love CVille Show of the week at 12:30. Neil Williamson, the president of the Free Enterprise Forum, has two comments. He says, how long will it take Charlottesville City Council to approve a plan for development for the homeless shelter? Wouldn't it be absolutely hilarious that Charlottesville City Hall puts Charlottesville City Hall through the ringer on development and permitting and planning?
You mean they put themselves through
Yeah,
the same hell that
that
everybody
would-
else has to go through?
that would be hilarious.
That would be poetic justice, especially considering some of the businesses that have been essentially destroyed because of not just City Hall. There are other parts of this.
Without naming clients, you know what I'm talking about. It would be absolutely hilarious if Planning Commission, the Board of Architectural Review, city inspectors and engineers, environmental people put City Hall through the ringer on the city-owned homeless shelter. That would be absolutely hilarious. Johnny Pritzloff works for Tallheimer. He's a commercial broker, fantastic broker. I hope Johnny Pritzloff hears this. Someone passed along to Johnny Pritzloff that we're giving him props on the show. Johnny Pritzloff does a fantastic job at what he does. recently promoted, I believe, to a senior vice president with Thalheimer, Johnny Pritzloff, a well-earned promotion. He recently was on record, I think it was in the CVille Weekly, quoted, I believe, by Sean Tubbs, saying, "You cannot possibly be considering changing the zoning code yet again, as city councilors are now deliberating taking the new zoning ordinance." Can we still call it a new zoning ordinance if it's been around for years? It's now been years. Is it still the new zoning ordinance, or is it just the zoning ordinance? The newly minted zoning ordinance is now being contemplated by City Council, potentially changing the document yet again. And Pritzloff literally says on the record in a Sean Tubbs story, I believe in the CVille Weekly, "Geez Louise, what are you talking about? If you change this zoning ordinance again, you're changing the rules again. There's not a developer in town that would do any projects in this city if you do that." Johnny posted the CVille Weekly article, I think it was CVille Weekly, that Sean Tubbs penned, on his LinkedIn. And in the comment section of that LinkedIn post, Kyle Redinger, who's a developer in town, Kyle Redinger owns the storage units on Pantops, the self-storage units on Pantops. Kyle Redinger is doing the business park down 5th Street extended, past Wegmans. That business park, I think it's on the corner of, 5th Street and Old Lynchburg Road? Over there where Country Green was, in that area. Kyle Redinger, in the comments of Johnny's LinkedIn posts, that is exactly, you know what, I will read it verbatim. I want to get this exactly right. I'm going to go to Johnny Pritzloff's LinkedIn and read it verbatim. Let's see if I can find it. I don't want to mess this up. And Redinger basically says in this thing, all right, here we go. I found it right here. Got Johnny's LinkedIn. I'm sliding down. I need to go with, LinkedIn is not as fluid. All right, here it is. Show all. See John's headshot where he's recently promoted at Thalheimer. I like that sports coat there, Johnny Pritzloff. Very nice. Here it is. It was the CVille Weekly. My memory is on point. He says, Charlottesville needs to stick to their newly adopted progressive zoning code. A lot of time and money has been spent to get to this point. We need more units to handle the growth. I disagree with Johnny on that. He's pro-development, residential development. I am not. Kyle Redinger says this. Exactly. The main reason I have not touched a single deal in the city. I cannot deal with how stupid their development policies are. Charlottesville has wasted so much potential. It's actually quite sad to see how they failed our community on so many levels in the last 20 years, despite the opportunity UVA provides. At least Albemarle County is trying to do the right thing, not so much in the city. I'm liking Kyle's post, Kyle's comment. I'm now going to respond to it. Well said. Well said, period. Reply, enter, publish. That's a developer. That is a developer literally saying they're idiots. Bill Chapman leaves a comment on this thread. The Planning Commission and Charlottesville City Council gave us a zoning code, and now the Board of Architectural Review is stopping things based on socioeconomic, not design reasons. That's the real problem. I'm going to respond to Bill's. That's true. Good call. Period. Respond. This is a guy that owns a hotel locally. I think also the Mod Pod, certainly the Oakhurst. So you literally have hotelier and a multi-site developer commenting in the comment section of a prolific commercial broker on why they don't do business in Charlottesville City. With one of them, the hotelier, saying the socioeconomic peer pressure, the socioeconomic pressure from activists, that's specifically the student housing that's trying to be planned by West Haven and the historically marginalized communities, and how the historically marginalized communities are saying, no, 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 do not put the UVA student housing here, when people like me 8 years ago said, if you do this new zoning ordinance, the student housing is going to go right here in the historically marginalized communities because the dirt is the cheapest.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And now The Board of Architectural Review said, oh my goodness gracious, I think we made a mistake. The developers are pursuing the cheapest dirt. What do? We have to change the rules. Now there's going to be 5 outs instead of 3 outs in the inning. And if you hit a home run, it's going to count as 2 runs instead of 1. And if you shoot a 3-pointer, let's make it a 5-pointer. And if you kick an extra point, it's going to be worth 5 points now. And goodness gracious, this team needs a little bit more time on its drive. Let's extend the 4th quarter by a few more minutes. That's what they're doing.
I want to see this game played.
That's what they're doing. Rock, paper, scissors. Rock doesn't beat scissors anymore.
What about Vulcans and lizards?
Sound like my son now. He's got one that's he goes, we do rock, paper, scissors, and he goes, God, God, God. He
I
goes,
haven't heard that one.
I win. John Bright watching the program right now. He's the owner of the Spectacle Shop. He's our neighbor in the Macklin building, has other locations, a very well-connected individual, always sharply dressed, John Bright. The city has shelters with showers, toilets, and a cafeteria that could feed them. We call them a gymnasium. They are in every school in the city. John Bright. Great comment, John Bright. His first comment on the I Love CVille show. The city has shelters with showers, toilets, and a cafeteria that could feed them. We call them a gymnasium. They are located in every school in the city. Neil Williamson also says, effort and ability influence your SAT score and mine, Jerry. It was, effort and ability to pay. The ability to pay marginalizes the effort that was put in to achieve that score.
His point is that not everybody has the money to pay for classes, and it's not a simple thing, I think, for families that don't to have their kids study for, I mean, you said years. Like, I don't remember.
I took the test for years.
Yeah.
From 7th grade forward. PSAT in 7th and 8th grade, SAT in 9th grade. I want you to imagine a kid from a Catholic school in Williamsburg called Walsingham having to hop in his parents' Mercury Mountaineer and drive to Bethel High School in Hampton, Virginia. Literally Bethel High School. We're talking the hood here. Okay. And the 9th grader drives in a Mercury Mountaineer dropped off by his mom and walks through Bethel High School from Williamsburg into a Hampton inner city school to take an SAT in a 11th grade math class, and everyone looking around, what is this 9th grader doing here at Bethel High School taking the SAT? That's what happened. The only place we could get in for the SAT that particular year. I remember it vividly. Time is starting. You're sitting there, head down, your hands shaking, your knuckles are white, you're looking around, you're just like, let me fill these bubbles as quickly as possible.
Shoot, I don't even remember who gave me a ride to the SAT when I took it.
But
I had an indoor track meet like right after that I had to bust my butt to get to. And it was snowy, and we had to walk up.
You must have done well. You went to
hills.
USC. Your first school was University of Southern California. That's a great school.
I did okay.
You finished at Savannah College of Art and Design, another great school. Must have worked out.
I did okay. Took the test one time. That's it.
There you go. Must have worked out. Now, Neil makes the point about the ability to pay, and we should extrapolate that comment even more by removing the ACT and the SAT as a requirement to get into the University of Virginia. It's more of that diversity, equity, and inclusion umbrella, because they find the SAT and the ACT, some people say, is catered and slanted, offers an advantage to wealthy, homogenous student bodies.
Also, people who are good at taking tests. It has to be said that not everybody learns or presents that learning in the same way. That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
No, there are some people that are better at others than taking tests. Point in case, I didn't study once for the SAT. I didn't take it multiple times. I went and took it once, and I did pretty well. My score doesn't matter. This is not a competition between Jerry and myself.
We're not competing.
And
I would like to compete.
I've always
I like competing.
And I've always been good at taking tests.
Okay, I'll give you that not everyone takes the test well, but that test is a test should you study and learn and train and practice.
And if you know you don't take tests well, then yes, you should be practicing.
And you will do better if you take practice tests.
Yeah, that's definitely fair.
And those practice tests are ubiquitous and available online now.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not like these practice tests require that big textbook anymore that you have to take, and there's 6 or 7 practice tests in them. You could find that practice test online easily right now. Okay, you want to get better at the SAT and you're not good at taking tests? Take some practice tests. Put some work in.
Right.
You want to hit a better backhand? Practice your backhand. Mm-hmm. You're having a hard time with the backhand serve return? Hit 100 backhand serve returns.
Yeah.
Carol Thorpe watching the program. In my humble opinion, I don't believe the city wants to be responsible for a shelter. Despite the urgent need, they are not highly motivated to do this. That's why they are dragging their feet. By the way, look at the history of how the city has managed Crescent Hall if you want to get a glimpse of the future. Carol Thorpe, always a good commenter on the show. Thank you, Carol. No, I also don't think the city is very interested in doing this project.
It doesn't seem that
I don't think, I honestly think the city is that interested in the homeless shelter. I don't think the city is that interested in solving homelessness. I don't think the city is that interested in materializing the grocery store on Fifeville.
Can you explain
and Cherry
that?
Avenue?
Can you explain that? Because that seems mind-boggling to me.
Which part?
All of what you just said. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just, do you have an explanation for that? Why would they? This would seem to be like
the easy explanation is that right now the city owns the building and they're going to be responsible for managing it if they can't find a third party.
Right.
So if they draw this out as long as possible, that at least they don't have to manage it themselves.
Okay, but that still doesn't. I mean, I get it. It also gives them more time to look for someone to take on the task.
Who wants the responsibility of managing a low barrier shelter where drug addicts and alcoholics and sex offenders will be staying there, minimizing the exposure associated with drug addicts, alcoholics, sex offenders, other potential convicted criminals staying there? They're not allowed to stay at the Salvation Army shelter.
Yeah.
The biggest issue with the low barrier shelter and the Salvation Army thrift store location on Cherry Avenue was the Cherry Avenue neighborhood said, please don't put these drug addicts, alcoholics, sex offenders in our neighborhood. And that literally put Juan Diego Wade and Sam Sanders in front of the verbal firing squad of the Fifeville and Cherry Avenue neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And then that project went away. Hunter Craig found a spot on next to the bypass, the old Lakeland Tours building, where there's no neighborhoods around it. There are 4 businesses right next door to it, the Aberdeen Barn and 3 hotels, that, yes, will be impacted by this.
More than just 3 businesses.
But right next to it, those 3.
More restaurants than just the Aberdeen Barn. There's, I believe,
they're the closest.
Yeah.
They're the closest. John Blair's watching the show via Twitter right now. Because LinkedIn did shut off.
I see LinkedIn still going.
I'm seeing it not live on my page. Just something to look into. Looks like a technical difficulty. We apologize for that, John. We enjoy your preference. We know your preference is watching on LinkedIn. I do see it cut off on mine. He says, I'm watching the show via Twitter. I would offer this about the SAT. My wife and I purchased an SAT practice book at Christmas. Why? Because we had heard how easy it was now. Honestly, we both got 800s on the verbal section. Math, both of the 600s. We haven't been in math class in 30 years. It's true, it's so much easier now. If we study the math, I'm sure we'd be hitting close to 1600 fairly quickly. Appreciate that vulnerability.
Congratulations.
John Blair there. SOHCAHTOA, Judah?
Sine over hypotenuse, cosine adjacent, cosine, I forget, TOA tangent over What does the A stand for?
Adjacent.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Sokoto. A squared plus B squared equals C squared?
Yeah, that's what, area?
Pythagorean theorem?
Okay. It's been quite a long time since I was in a math class as well.
All right. Other items we got to get out of the notebook 1 hour in. Barbara Bosick. The SAT is really hitting here. Barbara Bosick is watching the program. Her photo on screen. Okay, I don't know about the SAT, but regards to tennis, you can hit 1,000,000 backhands, and if you're hitting them wrong, you will never have a better backhand. I play a lot of racket sports, Barbara. That's a passion of mine. And to your point, if you don't have the proper grip, if you're not tucking your elbow correctly, if you don't have some natural ability like hand-eye coordination, you can practice the backhand, and yes, you can still make mistakes with the backhand. I've seen our 7-year-old son, who is taking squash lessons twice a week with the pro at the board set, Stephen O'Dwyer, who's an incredible human being. I hope Stephen O'Dwyer hears this. One of the best teachers of young men and young women in this community is Stephen O'Dwyer at the Boar's Head, period. He's got a gift. I hope he hears that, and someone passes that on to Stephen O'Dwyer. Our son has been doing it twice a week for his 2nd grade year, since the start of 2nd grade. We're now halfway through, and in 1 semester of twice a week squash lessons, 30 minutes one-on-one with Stephen, his game has 4x'd. He showed him the right grip, how to swing, how to open the racket face, how to follow through, and the basics, the fundamentals, have enabled him to have success hitting the ball, which in turn has snowballed into him wanting to play more, and he's now extremely passionate about it, which is making his game better. So to Barbara's point, yes, you have to have the basics in play. Vanessa Parkhill is watching the program. She says, in some ways, public school kids should have an advantage on the SAT because their world involves more standardized tests like SOLs. Private schools sometimes offer a wider variety of assessments. Neil Williamson says, so coaching matters? If so, affluence matters. I have no doubt, we could do an entire show on this. I have no doubt that families that are resourced, their scions or offspring, have edges or advantages when compared to families from low income or extremely marginalized communities. Mm-hmm. But there's children from low income or extremely marginalized communities that make it to college. And I would also offer this. The children that come from low income and marginalized communities that are of hard work and academic merit are the ones that are getting the full rides and the scholarships. It's not the children from the resourced and financially deep-pocketed families that are earning the free rides and the scholarships. Just throwing that out there. 1:35. A lot we got to cover in the program. I got a 1:45 phone call, which is in 9 minutes.
Oh, man.
Are we going to table the Water Street thing till tomorrow?
Again?
I think we should give some love to Sir Speedy of Central Virginia. Conan Owen and Sir Speedy of Central Virginia is who our firm uses for any signage needs. The vinyl lettering on our storefront, the banner directly behind me, direct mail, merchandise, uniforms, letterhead. Conan Owen, Sir Speedy of Central Virginia, locally owned and operated by a Darden graduate, minority owned. Conan Owen, Sir Speedy of Central Virginia is who we use for our firm and who we suggest you utilize as well. I want to save the Water Street for tomorrow because it's a big deal.
Okay.
Any item that we didn't cover, we covered the Capstone, the UVA, the Ivy Copley. We covered the homeless shelter and the Forever It's Taken. We added a little salt and pepper and a little pizzazz with the SATs, which has resonated with folks. Anything that I missed there?
I think just the downtown Water Street one way and Q4 home sales.
We'll do Q4 home sales on tomorrow's program. I have no doubt that Q4 home sales will come up on Real Talk with Keith Smith tomorrow at 10:15. I believe Caitlin Mancini is in studio.
She is.
Caitlin Mancini is in the house from Howard Hanna. I believe she's bringing her puppy, her dog.
Yeah.
We'll have a dog on Real
Definitely.
Talk with Keith Smith at
I know.
10:15 a.m. I think the last time we did that was when Caitlin Mancini was also in the studio.
Probably.
Yeah, literally on camera, she's holding the dog, right? What's the name of the dog?
Give me a second.
Is it Mitzi or Muffin?
Something like that.
Bitsy?
Let's see.
Betsy?
Um,
Bambi?
it is. Hold on. Let me.
Laritza?
Find.
Litza?
It is
Mousy?
almost there. Almost there.
Melissa?
Minnie.
Oh,
Minnie.
Minnie. That was close. Minnie.
Mitzi. Yeah, you were pretty close.
One shot, the three most important pieces of news. First, we'll give some love to Stanley Martin, partner of the program, Stanley Martin Homes. Stanley Martin Homes, guys, is building homes all over Charlottesville, Albemarle, and Central Virginia. Stanley Martin Homes online at stanleymartin.com. 50 years plus of experience building communities, developing communities, building homes. Stanley Martin Homes. They are a trusted partner in this process we call home buying, and they pursue elegance, excellence, and they treat individuals with respect, ladies and gentlemen, at Stanley Martin Homes. All right, these are the three most important minutes of news from my standpoint. I'm going to put myself on a timer, Judah, as I get this project, this 3-minute clock ready to go. We'll cut this into an individual segment and post-production.
Just a second.
You ready to rock and roll?
Just about, and you're on a one shot.
It is Thursday, January 5th, and these are the three most important minutes of news that we believe you, the viewer and listener, should be hearing and seeing and absorbing. The University of Virginia has had a demand for applications that is absolutely through the roof, ladies and gentlemen. 82,000 students applied for the UVA class of 2030. That's a 27% increase on the class of 2029. And get this, the class of 2029, last year's applicant pool was a record-setting class from an application standpoint. That means this year, a 27% increase on last year's record-setting number. As a result, the University of Virginia has partnered with a development company called Capstone Development, and they're going to bring a 780-bed residence to the corner of Ivy Road and Copley Road, 310,000 square feet of residence space, 780 beds, 19,000 square feet of dining and retail space. This 3-building project will be online before fall of 2027 semester. It's going to take them a year and a half to do this. Incredible speed for the University of Virginia as they're clearly trying to meet a demand of more applicants at Thomas Jefferson's University. I want to compare and contrast what the University of Virginia is doing in conjunction with Capstone Development Partners, 780 beds, a building, 3 of them built from scratch, with what City Council and Charlottesville City Hall are doing. It's going to take them 2 years and change to take a project on Holiday Drive, the old Lakeland Tours building that you see from the bypass, and convert an existing structure into a homeless shelter. They've already spent $6 million on this building. They've taken the building off the tax rolls, which means you and me, the taxpayer, have more burden. And they've indicated that it's going to be 24 months before a homeless shelter materializes on Holiday Drive. How can the University of Virginia build 3 buildings from scratch and 310,000 square feet, and Charlottesville City Hall can't take an existing building that's 27,000 square feet and convert it into a homeless shelter in less than 2 years, 2 years plus for that project? It makes no sense, ladies and gentlemen. I also want to talk about the CAR fourth quarter report from 2025. That has been released. Ladies and gentlemen, there's more inventory coming on market. In a lot of jurisdictions, values are flat. We will talk about the car 2025 fourth quarter report on Real Talk with Keith Smith tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. Friday. And folks, we will close the most important 3 minutes on the news on this reel by highlighting the final show of the week tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on the I Love CVille Network, the I Love CVille Show. For Judah Wickhauer, I'm Jerry Miller. Take care, everybody.